Washington, this is VOA News. I'm Ray Kouguell reporting. Egypt attacks Islamic State strongholds in Libya. Egypt carried out a second round of airstrikes in eastern Libya Monday, swift retaliation for the massacre of 21 Egyptian Coptic Christians by Islamic State militants in Libya. Libyan military officials say the bombings killed dozens of militants and several civilians in the IS stronghold of Darna. The Libyan Air Force joined the airstrikes, which targeted militant weapons supplies and training camps. Danish Prime Minister Helle Thorning-Schmidt says there is no indication that the gunman who carried out deadly attacks in Copenhagen at a free speech event and the city's main synagogue was part of a terrorist cell. She says the 22-year-old gunman was born in Denmark and that police knew him for several criminal acts and gang connections. Authorities have not named the gunman, but several news agencies in Denmark have identified him as Omar Abdul Hamid El Hussein. The attacks are drawing strong condemnation from France. Lisa Bryant reports.
Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo traveled to Copenhagen to express her solidarity with the city and its people. She and the city's mayor, Frank Jensen, vowed to defend free speech and democracy.
Et elle le reste particulièrement élevé dans notre...
In a radio interview Monday, French Prime Minister Manuel Valls said the threat is particularly high in Europe and that France will remain on high alert. The attacks have particularly alarmed the Jewish communities in both countries. Lisa Bryant for VOA News, Paris.
The three West African countries hardest hit by Ebola have set a target of reducing new cases to zero within 60 days. The presidents of Guinea, Sierra Leone, and Liberia made the pledge after closed-door talks in Conakry. 9,000 people have died in the epidemic. This is VOA News. The Nigerian army says a town in Borno State seized by Boko Haram insurgents last month was recaptured. The army says the operation involved airstrikes and led to the capture of a number of insurgents, as well as truckloads of food and supplies meant for Boko Haram fighters in the town of Baga. The day-old ceasefire in eastern Ukraine appeared on the verge of collapse Monday as pro-Russian separatists and Kiev's forces exchanged artillery fire in Debaltseve, the rail hub where rebels have surrounded Ukrainian troops. The separatists offered Kiev's fighters safe passage out of Debaltseve if they laid down their arms. But Ukraine promptly rejected the idea, saying the city lies within its territory under the truce negotiated last week by President Petro Poroshenko, along with the leaders of France, Russia, and Germany. Eurozone ministers gave Greece an ultimatum Monday to request an extension for its debt bailout program, despite Athens' strong objections. Eurogroup Chairman Jeroen Dijsselbloem says Greece would have the rest of the week to come into line following inconclusive talks in Brussels.
A request should come with an unequivocal commitment from Greece to honor all its financial obligations to its creditors, and, of course, to assure stability in the financial sector.
The Greek government is arguing that conditions attached to the bailout package have plunged the country into poverty. A visit by Sri Lanka's new president to India is giving fresh momentum to relations between the two countries. Anjana Pasricha has details.
Sri Lankan and Indian leaders sounded upbeat after holding talks Monday in New Delhi, noting that Sri Lankan President Maithripala Sirisena had made India his first stop abroad. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi called it a moment of unprecedented opportunity.
Our destinations are interlinked.
The Sri Lankan president's decision to make India his first stop out of the country is seen as a sign of his intention to put relations back on track as he seeks to rebalance his country's foreign policy. Mr. Modi is to visit Sri Lanka next month. Analysts say the challenge for Sri Lanka will be to balance ties between India and China, whose financing it will continue to need. Anjana Pasricha for VOA News, New Delhi.
A major winter storm is threatening a large part of the eastern United States with 15 to 30 centimeters of snow. The nation's capital, Washington, is preparing for up to 30 centimeters of snow. In Boston, more than 2.4 meters of snow have fallen this year and another 20 centimeters expected by Thursday. Along with the snow, the eastern United States is experiencing record-breaking cold, with temperatures in some places more than minus 30 degrees Celsius. I'm Ray Kouguell in Washington.
That's the latest world news from VOA.